Why are these deep-sea creatures suddenly emerging? This scary-looking fish has sea devil in its name. It swims with a torch on its head. For centuries, Japanese folklore has believed that the appearance of an oarfish near the surface is a sign of an impending disaster. During World War II, Navy sonar operators were baffled by what seemed like a false seafloor. Millions of oarfish were rising from the deep sea to the surface. Hello, friends. In January 2023, a fisherman in Japan heads out to sea to catch fish. He casts his fishing net into the water. A while later, as he pulls up his net, he finds a strange, long fish caught in it. This fish was incredibly long, almost like a snake, measuring nearly 6 meters in length. Its body was slimy and rubbery to the touch. This wasn't an ordinary fish, it was a deep-sea oarfish. Typically, these fish are found about 1 kilometer deep in the ocean. The fisherman released it back into the sea because, according to Japanese legends, the appearance of an oarfish signals a disaster, especially an earthquake. In 2011, a devastating earthquake struck Japan, and just before that, around 20 dead oarfish were found on the Japanese coast. But now, these legends are being questioned because, in recent years, dead oarfish have been found not just in Japan, but in many parts of the world. In 2023, a fisherman caught about 50 oarfish in one go. In 2024, 3 oarfish were spotted in California. In February 2025, a live oarfish was seen in Mexico. The frequent appearances of these fish are shocking because until a few years ago, seeing an oarfish was extremely rare. In fact, it wasn't until 2001 that a live oarfish was first filmed. But it's not just oarfish. Many deep-sea creatures are suddenly emerging. Take the giant phantom jellyfish, for example, with its ribbon-like tentacles stretching over 10 meters. These creatures usually live at depths of 1 to 2 kilometers, but in Antarctica, they've been spotted at just a few hundred meters. This year, 2 more such incidents occurred. In Russia, fishermen caught a creature that people called an alien. It was a smooth, long fish with a brain-like body. Additionally, near the Spanish coast, Black Seadevil Anglerfish were seen close to the surface. These terrifying-looking fish are named sea devils. Both these types of fish are deep-sea creatures that are rarely seen near the surface. The question arises, what's happening? These deep-sea creatures, which humans have barely known about, for thousands of years are suddenly appearing near the surface. About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by water, divided into different oceans. 97% of the Earth's water is in these 5 oceans: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans. 94% of the world's wildlife is also found in these oceans. But did you know? Humans have only explored and mapped about 5% of the ocean. The remaining 95%, especially the deep sea, is still a mystery. Surprisingly, we have better maps of Mars than of the ocean floor. Astronauts have spent over 300 hours on the moon, but only 3 people have spent about 3 hours at the deepest point of the ocean, the Challenger Deep. When you stand on a beach and look at the blue water, you only see the top layer of the ocean. This is called the sunlight zone, where sunlight reaches. Most of the ocean's colorful and diverse life is found here. This is the only layer where photosynthesis is possible, so you'll find macroalgae and phytoplankton here. These two are the foundation of the marine food chain. This is also where most of the creatures we associate with the ocean live: whales, sharks, turtles, and dolphins. But as we go deeper, light diminishes. At 10 meters, only 16% of sunlight remains. At 100 meters, just 1% is left. And beyond 1,000 meters, there's no light at all. This makes it nearly impossible for humans to see deeper into the ocean. Below the sunlight zone, at around 200 meters, the twilight zone begins. As you know, sunlight contains all colors of the spectrum. Water absorbs longer wavelengths first, so red disappears first, followed by orange, yellow, green, and finally blue and violet. In the twilight zone, only blue and violet light remain. This is where strange and bizarre creatures start to appear. For example, the strawberry squid, which looks exactly like a strawberry. It has one large eye and one small eye. The large eye looks upward toward the light, while the small eye looks downward into the darkness. This squid appears red to us because we're seeing it in full spectrum light. But in the twilight zone, where it lives, it appears almost black, because there's no red light there. Its color acts as camouflage in its environment. A bit deeper, you'll find the bloody belly comb jelly. Once again, this fluorescent red color is visible. Most deep-sea creatures can't see red, so this jellyfish uses its color to hide. When it moves, its body flickers with rainbow-colored lights, making it look like a rainbow moving through the high water. Now you might wonder, how do these lights flicker when there's no light in the deep sea? This is due to a fascinating process called bioluminescence. In bioluminescence, animals produce their own light using two key chemicals, luciferin and luciferase. When these chemicals mix, a chemical reaction occurs, releasing energy in the form of light instead of heat. Deep-sea creatures use this light to hide, attract prey, or communicate. For example, this beautiful creature, the sea angel, looks like a water fairy. It's smaller than a human finger and glows in the dark. It's completely blind, but this sea angel can turn into a devil in seconds. It extends its tentacles to create an inescapable net. Once its stomach is full, it stops glowing. It lives at depths of around 800 meters. Another fascinating creature is the Barreleye fish. Its head is transparent and dome-shaped. Look closely. There's no other fish like it in the ocean. If you go a bit deeper, you'll find the terrifying giant squid. These squids can grow up to 13 meters long, as tall as a two-story building. Their eyes are 25-30 centimeters wide, the largest eyes of any animal on Earth, adapted to spot prey in the dark waters. As we go deeper, past 1,000 meters, the twilight zone ends and the midnight zone begins. Here, no sunlight reaches. The creatures here often migrate between the twilight and midnight zones. For example, the deep-sea anglerfish, which includes the Black Seadevil. The anglerfish was first popularized in the movie Finding Nemo. It has a fishing pole-like structure on its head, with a glowing bulb to attract prey in the dark. But what the movie didn't show is the anglerfish's bizarre reproduction strategy. The males are 10 times smaller than the females, and their sole purpose in life is to reproduce. When they find a female, they attach themselves to her body and essentially become a part of her. This is how deep-sea life operates. Then there's the vampire squid. It's the only surviving species of its order. Its relatives went extinct 200 million years ago. Its 8 legs are connected by a cloak-like webbing, making it look like a vampire's cape when spread out. For years, scientists thought the vampire squid was a dangerous predator. But in reality, it feeds on marine snow, organic debris. So the name vampire squid is cool but not accurate. Deeper still, at 2,000 to 3,000 meters, lives the Yeti crab. It's nicknamed the Yeti because its arms are covered in fur-like bristles, but in reality it's blind. The fur is actually bacterial colonies. The crab farms these bacteria on its arms and then eats them. Specifically, it farms sulfide oxidizing bacteria near hydrothermal vents. At 4,000 meters, the midnight zone ends and the abyssal zone begins, extending to around 6,000 meters. This zone is still largely unexplored. The wreck of the Titanic lies here at about 3,810 meters. Some animals have been discovered here, like the Dumbo Octopus. Named after its large ear-like fins, this octopus spends its entire life in the deep sea and is one of the cutest deep-sea creatures, often called the deep-sea ballerina for its graceful movements. The ocean floor is typically around 6,000 meters deep, but in some places it goes even deeper. These areas between 6,000 to 11,000 meters are called the hadal zone. This is the deepest part of the ocean and remains shrouded in mystery. We'll talk about this in another video. Why are deep-sea creatures rising to the surface? During World War II, Navy sonar operators noticed something strange. At night, the entire seafloor seemed to rise by hundreds of meters. In reality, it wasn't the seafloor, but millions of fish, squid, and plankton swimming upward. This phenomenon is now called the deep scattering layer. It's like a hidden highway, where billions of marine creatures migrate daily. Scientists have found that every night, small zooplankton to medium-sized fish rise to the surface and then return to the depths at dawn. This is the largest migration on Earth, and it's been happening unnoticed for centuries. Imagine billions of creatures weighing 25 times more than humanity, moving up and down every day. This migration is called diel vertical migration, DVM, and it happens every single night. You can see a graph of this migration here. During the day, the layer is around 400 meters deep, but at night, it rises to the surface. This isn't happening in just one place. It's observed across the Pacific, Indian, North Atlantic, and Southern Oceans. But why do these creatures undertake such a difficult journey every night? The answer is simple: food. Photosynthesis only happens in the surface layers where phytoplankton thrive. These phytoplankton are food for small fish and zooplankton. But why don't they feed during the day? Because daylight brings predators like sharks, whales, and dolphins. So these small fish and deep-sea creatures come up at night to feed and return to the depths before dawn. However, in recent years, this pattern has been changing. Due to climate change, this daily migration is becoming permanent. As the Earth warms, deep-sea creatures are moving toward the poles in search of cooler waters. You might already know that the ocean absorbs 90% of the heat caused by global warming. As this heat is absorbed, the water temperature rises. For millions of years, the ocean's temperature remained stable, but now it's increasing. The surface water is warming due to sunlight, but the deep water remains cold because sunlight doesn't reach there. Warm water is lighter and stays on top, while cold water stays below, making it difficult for the two to mix. This means the oxygen from the surface isn't reaching the deep sea, leading to oxygen depletion. Even a slight drop in oxygen levels can cause a large-scale decline in deep-sea populations. Scientists predict that by the end of this century, the temperature in the abyssal zone could rise by 1 degree Celsius, and deep-sea creatures could migrate 4 to 11 times faster than surface creatures. The future of these incredible animals is at risk, and many could go extinct. The shocking part is that many of these creatures haven't even been discovered yet. Every year, new animals are found in the deep sea, and human activity could drive them to extinction before we even know they exist. But it's not just about these creatures. Our own lives are connected to the deep sea. The deep sea stores vast amounts of carbon. Phytoplankton act as carbon sinks, absorbing carbon and storing it in the deep sea, helping regulate carbon dioxide levels in our atmosphere. But with climate change, the ocean's capacity to absorb carbon dioxide is diminishing. While climate change is a long-term threat, there's an immediate danger to these deep-sea creatures: deep-sea mining. Look at this scaly-foot snail. Its feet are made of iron, and it lives near hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor. It's a small creature with a big heart. Its heart makes up 4% of its body volume, the largest in the animal kingdom. If humans had hearts this size, they'd be as big as our heads. This snail has lived near hydrothermal vents for millions of years. But now, some greedy capitalists are eyeing these vents for gold and silver mining. They want to send massive machines to dig up the ocean floor, destroying the entire ecosystem. Let me be clear. Some politicians like Donald Trump are a burden on the planet. They brainwash their followers by denying climate change. When it comes to protecting the environment, they quietly allow forests to be cut down and animals to die. There are countless examples, like the Amazon rainforest being cut down for mining to benefit their capitalist friends. Now, they're planning deep-sea mining off the coast of India in Kerala. Many people in Kerala are protesting this because it will devastate not just the environment and animals, but also the local communities. These greedy capitalists have already poisoned our rivers and soil. Let's at least leave the deep sea alone. Some might ask why I'm bringing politics into a scientific and educational topic. If you haven't realized it yet, everything, science, environment, economics, is linked to politics. Because of these useless politicians, the middle class is disappearing, as they prioritize their friends' profits. So far, no country has been granted permission for deep-sea mining, but pressure is mounting on the International Seabed Authority. It's said that they might grant permission to some companies this year, but we need to raise our voices and show the power of the people. Many NGOs and activists have already spoken out against deep-sea mining. 32 countries have openly stated that they won't support deep-sea mining. You can see the list of these countries on the screen. Greenpeace has started a petition to pressure governments worldwide. Stop deep-sea mining before it starts. As the petition states, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We were born at a time when fossil fuel factories were already everywhere, and destructive mining had already destroyed many forests. But this destruction hasn't reached the deep sea yet, and we can stop it. Many organizations have come together to form the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition. You can visit their website to learn more about the exact risks involved. The question is how to protect all these creatures we've talked about in this video. As Mahatma Gandhi said, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. Nature can fulfill our needs, but not our greed. So it's essential to fight against these greedy billionaires. I hope you found this video informative. And for those curious about hydrothermal vents and the deep sea, did you know that life on Earth likely began there? There's a deep connection between the origin of life and the deep sea. Thank you so much.